All right, let's get started. Today's lesson is going to be pretty quick because we're really just introducing the last module. This is the last of the material that we will be covering before Christmas break. Yay! The last module. But here you will notice that in this last module, we are actually utilizing a lot of the information, vocabulary, grammatical structures that we have been covering in Module 2 and in Module 3. Module 3, there was a lot of information. And so now really we are applying. So in Modules 2 and 3, we're really learning different components, but now we are applying everything we've learned up until this point. So let's go over some of these questions. ¿Qué necesitas para tu fiesta? Yo necesito el helado y el pastel para mi fiesta. That's great. Yo necesito el pastel y las galletas para mi fiesta. Yo necesito el pastel, los refrescos y los aperitivos. Ooh, wonderful vocabulary word, Module 3. Para mi fiesta. Para mi fiesta. Very good. ¿Qué comes para el almuerzo? Yo como la ensalada para el almuerzo. Yo como la hamburguesa y la naranja para el almuerzo. Yo como la hamburguesa y las papas fritas. Very good. ¿Qué hay en la mesa? You will see in Module 4 we are using I a lot. This verb was introduced to us in Lesson 304. I want to say page 7. And now we're using it a lot in Module 4 when we're describing the house and the various rooms. Hay unos platos, dos tenedores y el vaso en la mesa. Just know, Danielle, if you're starting with the indefinite article, you want to keep it throughout. So, unos platos, unos tenedores y un vaso. You don't want to switch from indefinite article to definite article, okay? You want to keep it the same. Hay unos tenedores. Be careful, Josh, what you're spelling. Unos cuchillos y unas servilletas en la mesa. Hay una servilleta, un plato y una taza en la mesa. This is very good. Thank you, Nina. It's my pointer. ¿Cuál prefieres, el bistec o los mariscos? So here we're using the vocabulary from Module 3. We were introduced to preferir, the stem change verb prefieres and quieres in Module 2. Yo prefiero el bistec. Yo prefiero el bistec. So we have some carnivores in the house. ¿Cuánto cuestan los mariscos? Los mariscos cuestan $30. Los mariscos cuestan $30. Very good. So you guys seem to see the pattern about using the vocabulary from the question to formulate your response. Very good. All right, some objectives in this session. We're going to start running in terms of, you guys are going to explain to me what the singular subject pronouns are and the process of conjugating AR, ER, and IR verbs in sentences. Describe your house and its rooms. We're going to be using AR, ER, and IR verbs in sentences about chores. Not really. We are going to be doing that next week. That's the last thing we'll be doing before Thanksgiving break. So we're really only today focusing on describing the house and its rooms, identify vocabulary needed to describe a house and its rooms, and use the verb ir to talk about where to go in a room. We learned the verb ir in Module 2. We used it a little bit in Module 3, and now we're really focusing it in Module 4. So, I know we saw this picture last week. We're using it again. It's a point of reference. And the reason why I wanted to make sure that you guys remembered those prepositions in terms of things are to the left or to the right, because we're going to be adding on in this module. We're going to be talking about where things are, hi, Jamiria, where things are in a room. So when you're describing your room, as the module progresses, you may say, you know, in my bedroom, there is a TV to the left of my bed, or There is a table to the right of my window. In front of my bed, there's a desk. So you're going to be using these prepositions. So if you can please, you can type in the chat box or in the whiteboard, ¿Dónde está el tenedor? How would you respond to ¿Dónde está el tenedor? I see Josh and Nina writing. That's about it. Now I see Danielle and Taylor. Very good. El tenedor está a la izquierda del plato. Very good. Very good. Now, I'm going to put the timer on. So everyone, Nina, don't forget you need a verb. El tenedor a la izquierda del plato. You need the verb está when you're talking about position. So you want to make sure that you're using that verb está. So, hi, D'Angelo, thank you for coming. So, el tenedor está a la izquierda. So don't forget to use the vocabulary in the question. Now, I'm going to put the timer up so that way you guys can post at the same time. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to do so. And this time, not for question number 2, but rather we're going to say in terms of la cuchara. So, ¿dónde está la cuchara? ¿Dónde está la cuchara? So don't hit the send button until the timer rings. So, I see Danielle writing, I see Josh writing. I see Taylor writing. Remember, these prepositions will help you when we are describing the rooms in the house. Okay, hit the send button. La cuchara está a la derecha del plato. Very good. La cuchara está a la derecha del plato. We'll also be using, very good, Nina, la cuchara está a la derecha del plato. De la mesa, not para, de la mesa. Very good. Besides using the prepositions from Module 3, to the left, to the right, on top of, in this module you'll be learning in front of, behind, around, because not only will we be describing where the placement of the furniture is in the house, but also when we're talking about outside the house, like around the house, there is a garden. In the patio, there is patio furniture, because if you have a backyard and if you have a patio or your parents have a patio, they may have a table there and 2 chairs. They may have a barbecue pit. So that's why I want to make sure that you are seeing this. You're having a trouble hearing me? Is anyone else having a problem hearing me? I'm not sure. Taylor, you might want to hit the tools button on top above my picture. When you click on that, there's audio wizard setup. Thank you, Josh. So, in case you don't know about the prepositions, this is just a review from lesson 304, page 7. Okay. Now, what is a subject pronoun, what does it replace, and what are the singular subject pronouns? I'm going to give you a minute to write your response because 30 seconds would be long, because these are 3 different questions. What is a subject pronoun? What does it replace? And what are the singular subject pronouns? So let me put my timer up. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. And go. I see Josh already writing. So I put in parentheses here lesson 302, page 10 as a hint in case some of you may not be familiar with this, because so far up to lesson 4.01 we've only done singular. By the end of Module 4, we will have completed the plural subject pronouns because starting in Module 5, which is Semester 2, which is in January, we will be doing all the subject pronouns. So it's really important that you're able to articulate and explain to me what is a subject pronoun, what does it replace, what are the singular subject pronouns. For the DBA, what are the plural subject pronouns? And the reason why it's kind of like when you're practicing and you're getting good habits, whether you do math or anything. Okay, hit the send button. Just because you will be using this in Spanish too as well. A subject pronoun is a pronoun that describes yourself or others. It replaces the regular nouns such as name. Correct. The singular subject pronouns are yo, tú, él, ella, usted. The subject pronoun are the words used to describe a person. Well, that's a noun. It replaces a noun. So the subject pronouns are yo, tú, él, ella, usted. Very good. I see Danielle writing over there. So this is what you should be able to explain to me. Okay, now, so these were the plural subject pronouns for some of you. We went over them last week. I started to explain them about we. Whenever you are included in the group, it's we, my friends and I, we. Nosotros would be if it's mixed group. Nosotras would just be we if we were all girls. Vosotros, vosotras is the two plural. So if I was asking you and your friends, are you guys doing something? I would be using the vosotros if it was a mixed group, or vosotras if it was just girls. And then ellos is they, and it could either be they, just the boys, or they, mixed group. Ellas, they, just the girls. And ustedes is like you all. Okay, two-step process. What's this two-step process of conjugating a verb? And we're using the verb comprar. So, start writing. You can write on the whiteboard. You can write on the in the chat box. Let's see what you got. Okay, remove the AR. Step 2. Remove the AR and then use the basic ending. So, what would the endings be for comprar? If that is the example, because we use that, we use the verb comprar in Module 3, especially at the end of the module. Yo compro, tú compras. Él, ella, usted compra. Very good. Okay, next. Here, ER and IR verbs. Here I'm using the verb pedir. Pedir we had in lesson 304, page 7, which is to order. It is kind of like the verb preferir that has that little spelling change, as well as querer, to want. So that E changes to I. So that would be the example of an IR verb. They both are. So what would it be? What would be the two-step process? Okay, so we have remove the IR. Same thing with ER. You would remove the ER verb. And then, yo escribo, tú escribes, él, usted escribe. Now, this one is not correct. Yo pedo. Josh, that's not correct. That's not correct because, as I put up here, this E changes to I. So, how would you fix that, Josh? Pedo should be what? Correct. I see you corrected in the O form. Danielle, you are correct in all forms. I love how you also include the accent marks. That's very good because they also count, especially when you're writing. So, yo pido, tú pides, él, ella, usted pide, meaning if you're ordering in a restaurant. Very good. Alrighty, moving along. Here we're in Module 4 now. ¿Cómo es tu casa? So here you see a picture of the house. We know some adjectives from Module 1, big, small. So, what can we say about this? ¿Cómo es tu casa? Question words, we use question words all the time. We used question words in Module 1, Lesson 1.08. We learned question words in Module 3 again in 305. So, ¿cómo es tu casa? How would you answer using this picture? What is one thing you can say using what we've learned thus far? Mi casa es grande. That's perfect sentence. Mi casa es grande. Josh is writing. I'm just waiting a second. Mi casa es pequeña. That's another great one, Nina. Mi casa es pequeña. ¿De qué color es tu casa? ¿De qué color es tu casa? So how would you answer that? I see Danielle. I see Nina writing. Mi casa es verde, or es de color verde. Mi casa es de color verde, mi casa es verde. Mi casa, el color de mi casa es azul. That's fine too. Either one of those are correct. ¿Cuántos cuartos hay en tu casa? So here we're using the verb I. We were introduced to the verb I in lesson 3.04, page 7. Gray is gris, G-R-I-S. And then again, you'll be using I again in this lesson on page 6. Actually, it gives you 3 tips on how to know to use I. So, it doesn't have to be an actual number or a factual number because clearly you do not know based on this picture. But using your imagination, how would you answer this question? ¿Cuántos cuartos hay en tu casa? Let me put up the timer so you can all answer at the same time. Let me put up for 30 seconds. And go. ¿Cuántos cuartos hay? I see D'Angelo writing. I see Danielle. I see Nina. And again, you don't know how many there are. Two, one, hit send. Hay 3 cuartos en mi casa. That's perfect, D'Angelo. Hay 3 cuartos en mi casa. Perfect, Danielle. Very good. Let's see, Nina's still writing. Hay 10 cuartos en mi casa. That's fine. ¿Cómo es la casa de tus sueños? So here too, especially in the writing towards the end of the module, you may be talking about your ideal home. ¿Cómo es la casa de tus sueños? What is your dream home like? Remember always to use the note-taking, guys, and I'm putting this out here so that I'm reminding you. If you see this vocabulary on this note-taking guide, more than likely I'm going to be asking you something about it, especially on the conversemos. And here you also have some different styles, which is the cultural component about the lesson. ¿Qué hay en el fregadero? ¿Qué hay en el fregadero? Even if you didn't know fregadero means kitchen sink, you know the other things in the sink. So, ¿qué hay en el fregadero? How would you respond to that question? I see Joshua writing. I see Danielle. I see D'Angelo. Hay platos en el fregadero. That's perfect. Hay un plato, un tenedor, y un vaso en el fregadero. Joshua became more technical. But yes, all those answers are correct. Very good. Now, I wanted to also bring to your attention in Module 2, you can go back to Lesson 201, page 2. We learned a little bit about the verb ir, which means to go. You will be using this verb in this module. In Module 3, we used it when we wanted to say, how are you going to pay the bill? ¿Cómo vas a pagar la cuenta? So now we're using it in another context here. Where do you go to study? So, in Module 2, we said, I go to calculus class, I go to geometry class. So we used the verb ir to go when we were talking about what were our classes, when we were talking about our class schedule. Here we're using that same verb ir. We're recycling it in Module 3 when we're saying how we're going to pay a bill. Are we going to use cash? Are we going to use a credit card? And now in Module 4, where do you go to study? So I just wanted for you to see the importance of using your note-taking guides, because a lot of the same verbs that we've covered or vocabulary is repeated again and again. So, here in Module 4, we're going to be practicing ¿A dónde vas en tu casa para estudiar? Where do you go to study? Okay, and this is in 4.01, page 3. They give you a great little graphic. They show you the subject pronouns, the verb ir, and what it means in English. I would encourage you to use this in your note-taking guide. So if I ask you on a DBA, talk to me about the verb ir, how would you conjugate the verb ir with the singular subject pronoun? Boom. Now we're using it in context. Here's some vocabulary. I just wanted to make sure that you're all clicking on these icons so you know the vocabulary that you should be using in the module. I also wanted to bring to your attention again in Lesson 304, page 7, that Module 3 has so much when we use the contractions. A plus L is I. So in some instances, if you're talking about the garden or the patio, if you're saying I'm going to study in the patio, A plus L still is that same concept. ¿Qué hay en tu casa? Here we're learning a little more, some more vocabulary. I may ask you some questions. I may show you a picture if you do a visual DBA with me. I may have have a picture up and I may ask you, well, where is the table? The table's to the left of the sofa. The table's to the right of the sofa. The curtains are on, the curtains are behind the wall or in front of the door, whatever the case may be. So you want to make sure that you're practicing your prepositions, you're including the new prepositions that are covered in this lesson, but also that you have this vocabulary written down. Same thing with que tiene tu dormitorio. Tiene is a verb that we've learned in Module 1. We use the verb tener when we said, I have brown hair, I have green eyes, I have brown eyes, I have hazel eyes. Again, I just wanted you to be aware that we're recycling the same verbs again and again. And this vocabulary is on page 8. Que hay en un patio. And the last thing that I really wanted to cover today with you guys is to make sure that at the end of this lesson on page 11, you have these verbs written down in your notes. So right now, these are called irregular verbs. Irregular verbs means they have like spelling changes or they don't follow that same two-step process in terms of when we say you have to take off the ending and you add the appropriate ending. Since they have a little spelling change, it may look a little different than that. So the verb ir, we're not dropping anything. It looks completely different. The verb estar, in the yo form, it has that OY, and then it has all the forms with an accent mark. You need to know that. And the verb ser, soy, eres, es, I am, you are, he is. And the verb tener, a stem-changing verb. The other verbs that you do know up until this point is preferir, which is also an E to IE, querer, also E to IE. You know the verb comprar, which is a regular verb. Escribir is a regular verb. Oh, pedir is another E to I. So some verbs have different spelling changes. But at this point in this particular module, in this lesson, they want you to know the verb ir, the verb ser, the verb estar, and the verb tener. So that's why I have this on here, because I want to make sure that you put these particular verbs in your notes, in your note-taking guide. And that's all I have for you today. I know today was a lot of information. Next week we're going to be applying it, and you guys are going to be speaking a little more. Next Wednesday is the last live lesson before our break, before our Thanksgiving break. So I'll hang out if you have any questions. Otherwise, you're free to go. Thanks so much for attending.